afternoon, folks. Good afternoon. Welcome to, well, it's Taco Tuesday. I'm out here about to get a little streaming in before I head into the second job. Tap in. See what's up there. Shout out to everybody tuning in. I really should have got this out the way. I apologize for texting on screen, but me and my girl were going back and forth about we're actually going back and forth about Batman and Robin because if y'all go back and read or watch some of the cartoons, Batman was dead wrong for letting that little boy run out in them damn like tights and short. Like I don't know what it was. Like he had like a Speedo tight thing in the earlier comics. You could see all his legs. Like yeah, like no. Me personally, I didn't grow up on that stuff. I grew up on the Batman the animated series where you had Dick Grayson, but he had like the long green pants. You know, he wasn't with the with the Speedos. No, Batman was wrong for that. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Let me go ahead and get this intro music out the way. Today we're going to be talking about immigration and how the recent how the continual ICE raids and the deportation of migrants is affecting our agricultural sector. You're like, Malcolm, how can you talk about such a topic on a Taco Tuesday like this? Cheers. But yeah, let's get into this video real quick. And me personally, from my stance of it, I feel like the major issue comes down to how the workers get here. Those willing to self-deport and re-enter through the legal process, all credit to those people. I understand. I know immigration sucks. I know it is an extremely long process. My dad went through the process. It was not, it was not easy, but it is better to go through things the legal way if possible. Better to do it legally. But yeah, let's get into the video. Shout out to you guys tuning in. So let me set, boom. Okay. So I got my Discord and everything pulled up now. So we're good. Shout out to my 2 new followers on Discord. Actually just checked that recently. Let's get into the video.
Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rowland saw it in a gleaming vision, killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Her problem is that the Trump administration's immigration crackdown is affecting farms across the country. Food production is at risk of slowing down as migrant farm workers hesitate to show up to work. They fear being detained or deported because ICE agents are descending on America's farms. Authorities say they arrested more than 300 farm workers in a recent operation targeting two California cannabis farms. They say they were not pursuing another worker when he suffered a fatal fall during one of those raids. Now, the problem is U.S. agriculture relies on migrant farm workers, and the industry is lobbying the administration not to deport them.
I mean, they're not wrong for trying to lobby against it. If we deport them, this will have a huge impact on our economy, and there will be lasting repercussions. So I would say the deportation overall, he's not wrong for deporting those that came illegally, but for those who are here legally, because basically here's what happened. They come in, as you say, descend upon these farms, and they round up everybody. If you ain't got your papers, you ain't got your wallet, if you ain't got anything to identify you, and sometimes they still gonna snatch you up anyway and throw you in the van. They're gonna sort it out later. And part of that is to juke the stats. It is to juke the numbers, because when you round up everyone in a mass raid, you guys are rushing in, taking people down. Some people are running, like they're trying to get as many as they can. They're going to sort out the paperwork later. And yes, there are some instances where, they get the wrong person, or they get someone that's legal and all that stuff. And hey, when the lawsuits, start coming in, we'll see what happens with the lawsuits. But yeah, they're going to come in and just round up everybody. They ain't going to care. What's your name? Gonzalez? Get down. Get down, Gonzalez.
But President Trump's MAGA supporters accuse the industry of selling out. They want ICE raids on farms to expand. Meanwhile, President Trump's signature policy bill that he recently signed into law has its own problem. It includes some of the biggest cuts to Medicaid in decades, which could leave millions of people without health coverage, something that Trump promised not to do. But Republicans insist that the work requirements they inserted into the legislation only affect able-bodied adult recipients who choose to be unemployed. And that's where the Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins comes in.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I got to keep pausing and re-going again just to, get the copyright, people off my back. But essentially, what they're expecting is, after the migrants have been deported fully, we purge the farms, and pretty much just purge our whole agricultural sector in general, because I would say a good 60 to 70%. Well, hold on, let me go over here. See what ChatGPT can say. You guys have to forgive me. I'm running off like a separate laptop. My laptop isn't as fast as my computer. I'll admit that now. So I can just speak. 64%, as estimated at 2018. Okay, that's a little bit old, but yeah, roughly more than half. I'm pretty sure it's more than that 64%, but it's quoting all farms. That includes local mom and pops, national big chains. But what they're expecting to do is to now replace those workers with Medicaid workers. But, and I'm not an expert on this, so correct me if I'm wrong. If you're on Medicaid, I believe there's a limit to how many hours you can work. So this will, you can't necessarily replace all the workers. There's still going to be a missing, a deficit of workers. Now, I don't know if they're going to be able to replace all the workers with Medicaid workers simply because, a lot of people on Medicaid do have, I would say, uh, labor restrictions, disabilities and stuff like that. So you would need more younger, able-bodied, younger, able-bodied people to actually replace these migrants. And then, as far as the young people go, I don't know if Young Farmers of America is still around, but yeah, we need more initiatives out there to get younger people into farming. And then there's the whole issue of startup capital for farming because you got to buy the farm, you got to buy the land, you got to get the equipment, and it'll be a huge up, a huge business to propose. I'd say that. I would say it that way. Or a huge project to accomplish. I could say that.
We must be strategic in how we are implementing the mass deportation so as not to compromise our food supply. Ultimately, the answer on this is automation, also some reform within the current governing structure. And then also, when you think about, there are 34 million able-bodied adults in our Medicaid program. There are plenty of workers in America.
It's so simple.
34 million. Shit. I didn't know we had that many. But yeah, I heard that. All you people on Medicaid just kicking back, working that little part-time job. No more part-time. But yeah, that farm life all day. Well, not literally. I would say, like, you probably do a 7 to 3. Do a 7 to 3. If you got to do a 10, you know, 7 to 5, and probably have rotating shifts of people. But you need, like, put in long hours. A lot of stuff to do on the farm. Milk the cow, catch the goat. I don't know why the goat always need to be catched, but sometimes goats go missing.
Will deport migrant farm workers, and then their jobs will free up for Medicaid recipients who need to work to continue receiving health care. They'll qualify for health coverage, and America's food supply will be secured. 2 birds, 1 stone. It goes without mentioning the number that Secretary Rowlands uses, 34 million able-bodied adults. First of all, the number is much, much lower than that. It's between 25 and 30 million. And according to Kaiser Family Foundation's research, a majority of them are working full or part-time. As of 2023, 44% of Medicaid recipients are working full-time, 20% are working part-time. So that 34 million number, just get it out of your mind. But
this is MSNBC, by the way. There's a link down in the description. I love how blunt he was with that. But yeah, let's get to the numbers. Now, those numbers were from 2023. I'll double check to see if I can find a more current survey. Go with the 2024. It's loading up. Let's get back to here.
The suggestion dovetails perfectly with this very persistent myth that the millions about to be kicked off Medicaid as a result of this bill are overgrown children who are hooked on video games, people who clearly should be working. Carl Hulse wrote in the New York Times how the lazy gamer has become for Republicans this generation's welfare queens, a convenient punching bag for cutting public benefits. But a Brookings Institution analysis of Medicaid rolls.
Well, I will disagree with him. Yeah, there is a generation of people just sitting on the couch, just sitting at home. They are. I don't know why, but that's what they do.
Conclude that even if these so-called lazy gamers had their benefits dropped, wouldn't generate anywhere close to the savings that Republicans expect. Quote, Speaker Mike Johnson's archetypal young men who hang out in basements playing video games are not as common as he may imagine and just don't use a lot of health care services, which suggests that Medicaid cuts will more likely affect people who do work or go to school full time, as well as people with physical limitations that prevent them from working in the first place. The bigger problem in Brooke Rowland's idea is that workers aren't really that modular. Many of the estimated 6 million people that the Republican reconciliation bill will kick off Medicaid because of work requirements.
It is raining hard as hell outside. And I still gotta get up and go to work. Yay. But let's get through this.
Live in the country's cities, major population centers, nowhere close to farmland. And they may be trained in things other than farming. You can't just pick them up from here or there and suddenly drop them on America's farms and expect everybody's problems to be solved. Both Trump's justifications for mass deportation, that the country is overrun by criminal migrants, and his justification for cutting Medicaid, that the only people affected are somehow undeserving anyway, are untrue. So when
I'm sorry, I gotta try to pause it. I try not to pause it in like a compromising position where I'm just gonna laugh at the screen because I'm a clown. I laugh at a lot of stuff. It is really raining hard as hell outside right now. I cannot believe this. I still have to go to work. Yeah. I'll be so happy when hurricane season is over. I don't even go to work no more. Shout out to everybody tuning in. Let's get through more of this video. This rain is so depressing right now. I can't believe it decided to rain. But that's Florida. I keep grabbing the wrong mouse pad.
you start with these two false premises, you end up with a very false solution. Joining me now is Julie Robner, the chief Washington correspondent at KFF Health News.
Oh my God. Why does Julia look like she know all the office business? Oh God, she know all the tea in the office. She know all the tea in the office. She just be sitting at her desk. She know all the tea.
Before that, Robner spent 16 years as a health policy correspondent for NPR, where she helped lead the network's coverage of the passage and implementation of the Affordable Care Act. And Ezequiel Hernandez, a professor at Penn's Wharton School. Hernandez's research centers on immigration and economic growth. He's the author of The Truth About Immigration, an excellent book, Why Successful Societies Welcome Newcomers. Welcome to both of you. Thank you very much for being here. I actually never imagined a world in which the two of you experts would converge in the same thing. So thank you to the Agriculture Secretary.
Random out there. I like how they got both an old and young person related in the sector to get on here and talk. So it's not just one-sided. You got old and young that can agree on this. But I am feeling this this little black globe right here. Yeah, I need to get me one of those. I'm feeling that.
For that, Julie, let's start first of all.
And yes, I am eating tacos. It is Taco Tuesday. I don't know what you expect.
With Brooke Rollins talking about how 34 million people are going to solve our migrant farm worker problem. Let's just talk about the number of people and who they are who are on Medicaid, who apparently are available to work.
Well, there's one myth that you missed, which is that people are not living off of their Medicaid checks. This is not welfare. Medicaid is paid to healthcare providers when people get healthcare services.
I'm just going to stop you there because this is a huge point. You can't get rich off of Medicaid benefits.
Right. You not only can't get rich off it, you can't live off of Medicaid benefits. So all of these people are doing something else to support themselves. And as you pointed out in that slide, most of them already work. They go to school, they take care of somebody, or many people can't work, but they also can't qualify for disability. So there are a lot of people with disabilities who get Medicaid who aren't technically disabled according to the government rules. So there really aren't that many people who are available to go pick the crops if we end up deporting a lot of these migrant agriculture workers.
And Zeke, Western governors and members of Congress and senators, Republicans have for decades been saying this is a real issue. You can't solve it with deportations. They've been tried everything, whether it's guest worker programs or accelerating the ability of people who work on farms to get residency in the United States, because like it or not, from a policy perspective, we are dependent upon migrant workers for our agriculture in this country.
Absolutely. The numbers are unambiguous about this. And like you said, it's been like this since at least 1965, when we stopped having open borders with Mexico, where people could just come in for the harvest. And so it's been decades and decades now that we've had this.
Oh my God. This is the only thing I hate about steak tacos. Depending on where you go, they don't care about picking like those huge chunks of fat out of the meat. They'll just chop it up, grill that shit, and serve it out. And they're like, oh, I hate that so much. The last time I got tacos, I bit down and I just bit straight into it was like a whole cube, almost like, oh. I felt like Kodak Black. Right down. There he faded. I'm gonna have to wrap this up soon. I gotta get ready for work.
Issue. I'll give you just one example. In North Carolina in 2011, right in the aftermath of the financial crisis, there were 500,000 North Carolinians that were unemployed. 500,000. There were 6,000 farm jobs open. only about 200 US-born workers applied for those jobs, and only 7 of them, that's the number 7, I'm not misstating that, finished the harvest, right? So that just tells you that for whatever reason, for many reasons, there are people who will just simply not do farm work for a lot of the reasons you just stated. They are doing other kind of work. They have other kinds of skills. And so the premise behind the deportation is that that we don't need these workers, that they're taking advantage of American workers, and if we just get rid of them, there's a group of people willing to fill the void. Right. It just doesn't hold up to scrutiny.
By the way, people don't really register this fact, but agriculture work is the most dangerous work in America, like statistically. It's just it's hard work, it's hot work, and it's dangerous work. Julie, part of the Republican defense of Medicaid cuts is this idea that lots of undocumented immigrants are receiving Medicaid. Senator John Barrasso was on Meet the Press this morning. Listen to what he had to say.
Medicaid has become a magnet for waste, for fraud, for abuse, and even corruption. And during the votes on this bill, the Democrats said, nope, keep sending Medicaid to illegal immigrants, or 1.2 million illegal immigrants on Medicaid right now.
Senator, a couple things. 92% of people who are on Medicaid are either working or would qualify for an exemption. And it is worth just reminding people, folks who are here who are undocumented actually aren't eligible to receive Medicaid.
Let me just point out there that there are still 1.2 million illegal immigrants on Medicaid.
Well, I feel like he too tight with it. He too tight. Loosen up. Gotta loosen it up, man. He too tight with it. I like a more relaxed fit. I don't always like to be buttoned up all the way. This lady over here, I know her husband don't want to lie ever. And be like, you know what, baby, I was gonna lie, but I ain't gonna lie no more. Oh no.
Medicaid, because states have set up money laundering schemes to drain Medicaid, to pay for illegal immigrants.
If you're wondering why I'm not saying anything, because I'm just kind of dumbfounded. Kristen corrected him, and then he went back to say 1.2 million illegal immigrants on Medicaid because states have set up money laundering schemes to drain Medicaid to pay for illegal immigrants. I mean, Julie, if you feel like saying, Ali, I have no comment on that, move on, I'll accept that answer, because I don't know what you know about this that I don't know. States having set up schemes to drain Medicaid.
He's conflating two different things. There are some states that are using their own money, not federal money, to cover people who are not here with documentation, because those people also get sick, and if they get sick, they can threaten people who are here legally and who are citizens. And it is something that a couple of states, notably California, have decided to do. The other thing he's talking about is something else that this bill goes after, which is a way that states are raising money to pay their share of Medicaid expenses. Medicaid's a shared program between the states and the federal government. This has been something that this bill goes after, but Democrats have gone after it, Republicans have gone after it. You can call it money laundering, you can call it states raising money to pay their share, which is basically what it is.
I'm back now with Julie Rovner, Chief Washington Correspondent at KFF Health.
I'll switch over to something else. Damn. He gone. Faded. Well debated and medicated.
Since taking office, my administration has launched the most sweeping border and immigration.
I'm sorry if you guys heard that too. That literally just wrecked my headphones for a second there.
Since taking office, my administration has launched the most sweeping border and immigration crackdown in American history, and we quickly achieved the lowest numbers of illegal border crossers ever recorded.
I've been involved in dairy farming my entire life. I grew up on this farm. This is the farm my parents came to when they emigrated here to the United States, and I've been here ever since. We have about a dozen full-time and part-time employees, and the vast majority of them are of Mexican descent. They have moved here from Mexico. For 30 years, I've been not enough domestic people that want to come and work here. It's not my job to do the federal government's work and decide who's here legally and who's not. We're not going to sit here and spend a ton of time trying to screen, and we're not equipped to do so. If we're given documents, we're to assume that they are proper documents. We can get nostalgic about the good old days when there were more farms up and down my road and everybody had, 5 to 10 children and they all went out to the barn morning and evening to milk the cows and so forth. But my point is, right now, the actual current reality is that there are not enough human bodies to do the work that needs to be done. There's 6 pens normally in the barn. So what happens is guys like Luis, they come and bring the cows up from the pen, bring them to the holding area, and then they work their way through the parlor and come back to their pen. We have live animals out in the barn, right? They need to be fed, they need to be watered, they need to be cleaned up after, and they need to be milked every day, or they will die. These are living, breathing creatures that are our responsibility.
That was nasty. I don't know why they thought it was a good idea to get close to the damn cow. But, now, I'll say I saw a baby cow the other day. It looked cute. But I ain't with all that. Dang. Lightning and thunder outside. Shit. Let me wrap this up before I get struck by lightning. I'm superstitious. But yeah, there's just not enough people. We would have to I would say whatever money they save up, redistribute that money. Well, I don't know. The Department of Government Efficiency, how much they save from this, clearing out that they're doing, take that money and reinvest it into trade, agricultural, and STEM programs. Because at its core, we need new electricians. My brother was just telling me the other day, he on a job site I'm trying not to say that word. He's on the job site with another guy. He out there getting paid $28 an hour. And he don't know nothing. Now, I'm not an electrician. I can follow a basic wiring diagram. I can wire some stuff up. There's been like a time or two where I've had to splice or use wire nuts or butt connectors, like simple stuff. Yeah, like when I installed the radio, like simple stuff like that. But I don't know. You got people faking their way onto job sites, claiming to be electricians, and they ain't electricians. So actually, I know, I'm gonna help you guys out. Because in welding, you can't BS him. Because he's gonna say, all right, cool, put your helmet on, lay a bead. And if you can't lay one, they go. Or like, if you're, whatever it is you do, like if you're an HVAC guy, see if there's like a mock test you could do to be like, okay, diagnose this, right here and see what's wrong with it. A mock test. And if you can diagnose it and tell what's wrong with it, boom. Or like with electrical, I would say, get a motor or get like a motor and just undo the wiring. Take the wiring apart, give them a wiring diagram of how it's wired up, take the wires apart, and tell them, all right, wire it back up. I know that's not a good thing, but, well, like the HVAC, just do a mock test. Fine, have a mock trailer. I know it's going to sound expensive, but hey, if an electrician, HVAC, or a plumber walks onto your job, you're like, all right, we're going to take you into this mock trailer, and we're going to see how much you know.